President Trump has suspended funding to the World Health Organization, saying that the role of the WHO in the coronavirus cover-up will be examined. Barack Obama has finally endorsed Joe Biden in a very strange Twitter video, and you won't believe the reason the New York Times gives for changing its Joe Biden story. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Wednesday. I hope you're having a great week. We are going to start with President Trump because something happened last night and it was just awesome. He's hinted at this for weeks now, criticizing the World Health Organization, the WHO, for their absolute complete failure in addressing the coronavirus outbreak, doing anything about it, getting the proper information out. He has been on them all the time. But unlike some leaders who just rattle their saber, just talk, President Trump is actually doing something about it. He's actually putting his money where his mouth is and doing something. And it's awesome. And so he called this press conference last night, not in the White House briefing room, but out in the Rose Garden. And he announced that funding for the World Health Organization was going to be suspended until there's a review done on this whole coronavirus mess that we see ourselves in. And here's the president.
Today, I'm instructing my administration to halt funding of the World Health Organization while a review is conducted to assess the World Health Organization's role in severely mismanaging and covering up the spread of the coronavirus.
That was just awesome. The president said that the WHO has a role in mismanaging and covering up this coronavirus outbreak. I mean, boom, that's exactly what they're doing. And he flat out just came out and said it. And, you know, it shouldn't be so stunning now that we've had this many years of President Trump, but it's just so refreshing to see a leader actually say what's going on rather than mincing words. I mean, he just laid it right out there. And this is awesome because just like the UN, the United Nations in general, WHO in particular, we shouldn't be funding these organizations that just hate us, that promote left-wing agendas, that would rather cozy up to communist regimes and human rights abusers than do their job and do what's right and bring the world together. We shouldn't be funding that kind of stuff. And here's more from the president.
The WHO's attack on travel restrictions put political correctness above life-saving measures. Travel bans work for the same reason that quarantines work. Pandemics depend on human-to-human transmission. Border control is fundamental to virus control.
So not only did the president call out the WHO on their opposition to the travel ban, he listed a host of other reasons for suspending this funding. First, the failure for the WHO to act in general to this outbreak. Their failure to say, or their denial, that there was even human-to-human transmission. Their repeating and parroting of Chinese talking points regarding the virus, actually praising China for their handling of this situation, which has infected the entire world. Also, their failure to stand up and talk about how Chinese scientists, researchers, physicians who addressed the coronavirus at the beginning have just disappeared. They're just gone. And now the WHO has actually voiced support for China opening up these wet markets, which are sources of numerous viruses, numerous diseases. They're voicing support for that because they're in the back pocket of China. President Trump called him out, and it was absolutely awesome. And he also pointed out that right now, the U.S. gives between $400 and $500 million per year to the World Health Organization. China gives about 40. The most populous country in the world gives 40 million compared to our 400 to 500. Now, as soon as the press conference wasn't even done before left-wing media jumped all over this. CNN's John King gave a report. He was talking last night, and he said that the president's statements today are basically to cover up or distract from his own statements. And here's King.
This is an attempt by the president to steer you away from his own actions. On January 22nd, he did an interview with CNBC. He was asked, do you think this will be a pandemic? he said no, no. And he said that was because he thought President Xi was on top of it. He has several times since says he believes China is professionally handling this and praised President Xi.
John King went on and on, but give me a break. Other world leaders were slow to act because they were relying on information from China and the World Health Organization. That's why they were slow to act. And despite that disinformation, or complete lack of information in many cases, President Trump still acted. He was the first to enact a travel ban, which was criticized by CNN, the WHO, China, other organizations, Democrats. You name it, they criticized it. It helps save lives, and yet this is what CNN does. It doesn't matter what Trump does, they're going to criticize it. So next, I want to move on to Barack Obama. But first, if you're liking the show, please hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you'll be notified. We're making a push, 100,000 subscribers by Election Day, 100K by Election Day. Let's get there. So next, I want to talk about Barack Obama because he finally came out and endorsed Joe Biden. Finally, after all of these elections, after the nomination is basically wrapped up, Joe Biden's the nominee. This is Barack Obama's vice president for 8 years, and he finally came out and endorsed him. People were starting to wonder, does Obama know something that we don't know? Or maybe it's just the fact that Obama knows exactly the same stuff that we know. Okay, Joe Biden is out there. He says some strange stuff.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
You know the thing. What is that? You know the thing. And then there's this one.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
All right, that's just two examples. I'm not even playing the lying dog-faced pony soldier or the incident where he confronted a steel worker and basically told him to meet him outside. They'll settle it out there. I'm not even getting to those. But so Obama, he endorsed Joe Biden. He did it on Twitter. He put out this tweet right here saying, "I'm proud to endorse my friend Joe Biden for president of the United States. Let's go." So in that tweet, he put out a video. He laid out reasons for the endorsement. He didn't mention why he waited so long or why the endorsement is basically useless. Doesn't matter if the guy's already the nominee. What matters is I'm picking this guy from the others that are still in the race. But here's part of his video.
The kind of leadership that's guided by knowledge and experience, honesty and humility, empathy and grace. That kind of leadership doesn't just belong in our state capitals and mayor's offices. It belongs in the White House. And that's why I'm so proud to endorse Joe Biden for president of the United States.
So for about 2.5 minutes out of the 12, Barack Obama talked about Joe Biden. But he did it in a weird way. It's almost like, Joe's so great because he did what I told him to do. You know, my ideas were so awesome, and Joe Biden implemented them. That's what he said. Here's more.
That's why I asked him to implement the Recovery Act, which saved millions of jobs and got people back on their feet. Because Joe gets stuff done. Joe helped me manage H1N1 and prevent the Ebola epidemic from becoming the type of pandemic we're seeing now. He helped me restore America's standing and leadership in the world.
See that? That's a whole lot of me, and not very much he. It's just so weird. So after about those 2.5 minutes, Joe Biden basically disappeared. Obama talked about Bernie Sanders, and then he went through the Democrat platform as if this is a Obama campaign message. We need to do this. We need to do this. He's talking about Medicare for all. He's talking about green programs. He's talking about all these issues as if he's running. It was so strange. I mean, shouldn't the Democrat nominee be the one that's pushing policy? Shouldn't other people, his endorsers, be the ones jumping on board saying, yeah, Biden's right? Instead, it was Obama pushing policy. It was so strange. And then he went after the Republicans.
The Republicans occupying the White House and running the U.S. Senate are not interested in progress. They're interested in power. They've shown themselves willing to kick millions off their health insurance and eliminate pre-existing condition protections for millions more, even in the middle of this public health crisis.
Wow, there's so much to unpack in that little clip. It's just amazing. But keep this in mind. Think about places like Venezuela, the former Soviet Union, communist China. What are the hallmarks of socialism, communism, and these kind of regimes that are pushed by the left? Consolidation of power. He talks about power in the Republicans. The left, the Democrats, want more government. That means more power. And who's the person who kicked millions off of health care? Remember, if you like your doctor, you can keep it. If you like your health plan, you can keep it. That's Barack Obama. And then he said this one other thing I want to cover. Check this out.
And it won't be easy. The other side has a massive war chest. The other side has a propaganda network with little regard for the truth.
So the other side has its own propaganda network with little regard for the truth. Think about that, okay? This is Barack Obama talking about the right, obviously referring to fake news. The right has its own propaganda network. But the left? No. The left is just pure in its intentions. And those covering it are pure in their reporting, right? There's no fake news. There's no disinformation. These people are all on board in a professional journalistic way covering the news of America, right? I don't think so. Folks, that's what Barack Obama said. So strange, so weird. Next, we're going to go to the New York Times and Joe Biden, the guy who got the endorsement from Barack Obama. And I want to do a follow-up to a story I did last time, which was the New York Times story on the Tara Reade allegations against Joe Biden. If you recall, the New York Times put out a piece on Sunday going into the Tara Reade allegations of sexual assault, and they included this paragraph. No other allegation about sexual assault surfaced in the course of our reporting, nor did any former Biden staff corroborate Reade's allegation. We found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden beyond hugs, kisses, and touching that women previously said made them uncomfortable, the Times initially reported. All right, so then after pressure, the Times removed anything after the sexual misconduct allegations by Biden, that there was no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden. They removed everything else after that. They removed the touching and hugs and kissing that made women feel uncomfortable, that obviously had become news. They removed that part. Well, guess what? The reason they did it, what came out this week, is the reason they did it is because of pressure from the Biden campaign. The Biden campaign contacted them, asked them to change it, and they did. Can you imagine that going down with Trump? Absolutely not. But that's what happened. So a New York Times reporter actually interviewed the Times executive editor, Dean Beckett, and he explained, he was asked about this, why this change, and why the difference in coverage between Joe Biden and Justice Brett Kavanaugh last year when he was going through the confirmation hearings. So when asked about why this change was made at the request of the Biden campaign, here's what Beckett said. Even though a lot of us, including me, had looked at it before the story went into the paper, I think that the campaign thought that the phrasing was awkward and made it look like there were other instances in which he had been accused of sexual misconduct. And that's not what that sentence was intended to say. So are you kidding me? There have been other complaints. That's why everybody knows about it. And of course, it wasn't their intent to do this. They wrote it anyway, getting real information out. And then the Biden campaign complains and they take it out of there. There's allegations out there. It needs to be reported. And on influence, on pressure from a Democrat presidential campaign, they changed their story. Then they were asked about Brett Kavanaugh and why the difference in coverage. Why does Joe Biden get coverage one way? Brett Kavanaugh gets it a different way. Here's what Beckett said. Kavanaugh was already in a public forum in a large way. Kavanaugh's status as a Supreme Court justice was in question because of a very serious allegation. All right, folks, let me know what that means. If you understand what that means, please go into the comments and explain that to me. How Kavanaugh was in the public forum in a large way, but Joe Biden, the former vice president, a man running for president who is the Democrat nominee, he's not. He's not in the public forum in a large way. These are the reasons from the New York Times. This is their executive editor telling us why they changed their story and why Kavanaugh and Biden get different coverage. It makes absolutely no sense. but that is left-wing media for you right there. Folks, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. Let's hit 100K by Election Day. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. Okay, friends, thanks so much for watching. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified. And here's a special video just for you so you can watch even more of the 13-minute news hour. And don't forget to check out GOPUSA.com for the best in conservative news and commentary. We'll see you next time.